Compilersutra. In this video, we are going to explore how Bash handles variable and quotes. You will learn what makes single and double quote different with $curly braces for variable clarity and how to avoid the most common mistake. The topic covered in today's video are how to declare and use the variable in the Bash. The part 2 is difference between single and double quote, and the part 3 is when and why to use $curly braces in variable reference, common mistake and how to avoid them. By the end of this video, you will know how to define and use variable in Bash, understand difference between single and double quotes, properly reference variable with $hash. Let's move to the part 1. Understanding what variable in Bash and why quoting them correctly is essential. That we will come to know in this video. So this video will mostly cover understanding how to declare variable and use variable in Bash. In any programming language, a variable is a way to store and label data, so you can use it later. Your code without rewriting it. Think of giving a name to a value so you can refer to it easily and consistently. In a Bash, a variable is like a labeled container that stores a value such as text or a number which you can use later in your script. This makes your script more flexible and easier to maintain. Instead of repeating the same value multiple times, you store it in a variable and use the value named whenever required on reading. Still confused about what variable is? If that's hard, maybe step away from your keyboard. AI is ready eyeing on your job. Let's start by understanding how to declare variable in Bash. This is one of the most basic yet most important things you will do in shell scripting. Let's say we want to create a variable called name and store the value into it as Compilersutra. Pay close attention to it. There is no space before and after equal to sign. This is mandatory in Bash. How we can see the output of the variable? We just have to write echo $name. When we create a variable by itself, we have to append a $. Here $tell us that, hey, don't treat this as a plain word. This is a variable and I want its value. When you will use echo with the $name, then this $ will give the value what the name contains. Let's say if I will just write plain echo name, it will return name because we are saying echo to just print the name as a string. But here we have created a variable name which is storing Compilersutra. So that's why we have to give echo $name. Initially we have not given any spaces. Let's see what happens when we give spaces between variable name and value to assign to it. Let's say we have variable as name and we have given a space and assigning value to it as Compilersutra. Here the command failed. Bash tries to run command named name with argument equal to and Compilersutra, which obviously failed. Always remember no space around equals to when assigning a variable a value. If you add a space before or after the variable name, Bash won't interrupt this as a variable assignment. Instead, it will try to run a command name, which obviously doesn't exist in the context. So always remember, no space on other side of equal to. Use descriptive variable name. Keep it lowercase or underscore separate or for consistency. Optional tip, even though it's not required, often a good idea to put the value in double quotes. So why? Because if your value contains spaces like these, then Bash will handle it properly as one string. Summary of this part: use name equals to value with no spaces. Use quotes if the value might contain spaces. Follow good naming convention for readability. This one simple rule, no space around, will prevent most beginner mistakes in Bash. Let's move to the part 2 of the video, that is difference between double quotes and single quotes. Let's look at difference between single quote and double quote in Bash, especially how they affect variable expansion, meaning whether $name gets replaced by its actual value. So let's first see how double quote works. Let us assume we have created variable name as name equal to Compilersutra. Now let's suppose we want to print my variable name is Compilersutra. So we have used here double quote and $name to get the actual variable values. What this will do when I will execute it? As soon as I will execute, the string my variable name is will printed here, as you can see that. But where you have to focus is what happened to the $name. The $name, it did not print $name here. It prints the content of the variable name, which is Compilersutra. Now let's do it with single quote. With the single quote, you can see the change. When I am using double quote, when I am using the value of name is getting replaced, but when I'm using single quote, it's literally printing $name instead of its value. So let's understand. When using double quote, that interprets $name as a variable and substitute its value CompilerSutra. When using single quote, Bash does not interpret variable. It treats everything inside the quote as a plain text. This behavior is essential to understand because use double quotes when you want Bash to expand the variable. Use single quotes when you want to show the literal text, including the symbol $. So now let's move to the part 3 of the video, that is when to use dollar with curly braces. Sometimes when you are combining variable with other text, like appending a string, Bash can get confused. Let's look at this example. Lang equals to Python and we are just printing lang script. Surprisingly, we are not able to see any output, but what we have assumed that we will see the output as, instead of lang, what we have assumed that this lang will get replaced with the Python. And we will see here Python script. Here is the problem. Bash tries to find a variable named lang script because instead of lang, Bash is looking here for the whole variable name as lang script, which does not exist. So it prints empty string or nothing. To fix this, we use curly braces to make the variable boundaries explicitly. Now we can see the output as Python script. Now Bash know what you mean. The variable lang followed by the word script and print. This pattern is especially useful when constructing file name, path, or combining multiple values into single string. Whenever you are adding text right next to a variable, always use curly braces like $lang. It prevents confusion and ensure Bash correctly identifies whether the variable name ends and the text begins. It makes your script more readable and less error prone.